What up, guys? It's Dr. Vic, and you're listening to another episode here on the Mindful Experiment. As each week, you have me sharing a concept, something that I may have gotten through a meditation, talking with a coaching client, something I thought that it can bring value to you in your life and help you raise that bar, help you remember a little bit of who you are, and so much more. Excited to be here. Lots happening in the world, a lot of good stuff. Hope things are going really well for you. It's been fun for me. Been on my creative side lately. I've been loving it. Getting creative with videos, creating content creation, online classes, and starting to slowly, my goal is by starting in April to start writing my third book. I'm going to be excited about that. It's been a fun journey. And with the state of creation, this is the topic of today's episode, is to discuss the aspect of abracadabra, right? You've heard of abracadabra, right? We've all heard of it at some point, at some time, through a magic show, right? Abracadabra. There we go, right? And magicians use that often for many different things. But in today's episode, I'm looking up as I speak. For those who are watching me on video, you're probably like, why is he leaning over so much? I don't have my glasses on, so it makes it a little harder for me to see. But long story short, abracadabra, give you a quick little definition of it, and I'll throw on my glasses to read this, is something that came from the Hebrew words, which means Ab, Ben, Ra, hakodesh, which translates to Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. I didn't know this when I was doing my research. I thought that was pretty cool. So it's the word abracadabra actually, in fact, is an invocation of the Holy Trinity. And according to another theory, this magic word is derived from another magic word known as abraxas. That's abraxas. I don't even know how to pronounce the X word there. This word is special as the letters in Greek numerology add up to 365. Which is the numbers in the day of the year. Thought that was pretty cool. But there's even an older theory about its origins, which said it stems from the Aramaic, and this is what I learned from it, Abracadabra, which means, AVRA means as I speak, KADAVRA, so I create, right? And that's the meaning of today's episode. And it's really grasping and understanding. This is what I learned from abracadabra when I was writing my first book, Rediscover Your Greatness. In the chapter, I believe chapter 3, I talk about how the words define reality, right? And the words and how you define the word of what you choose and what you use becomes the fabric of your reality. And how words are like spells, and they have vibrations to them, and there's frequencies to them. And, through the work of Dr. Emoto, he did the water experiment, and what he did was he put words on water and froze them and watched how the crystallizations of them formed if they were higher vibrations. Lower vibrations like hate, shame, guilt, those types of things, those emotions or those words, like you fool was another one. Those words had low vibrations, and we would see that in the water, how the construct, the structure, the crystallization of the water won't be there on the lower vibrations versus the higher was. And so abracadabra, I've always loved this term because it's one of the things where in life you're doing this all the time. You are abracadabraing all the time. I don't even know if that's a word, but I'm coining that. But abracadabra, as I speak, so I create, right? And it's one of the things, they talk about how God created the heavens and the earth, right? And it wasn't till he spoke that there was light and water, right? And the land. You look at this in Genesis in the Bible, and you look at these things and it's kind of like, wait a minute. So abracadabra, God did that to create the world, right? As soon as he spoke it, then all of a sudden it was created. And so the power of who you are and being so consciously aware of the words you choose and how you describe a story. Now, in my coaching programs, I walk through a lot of these things, and we talk about stories and words and creations and reality and things like that. But in the essence, and we're revamping some stuff right now in there to really get down to some specifics with that. But if you pay attention to some of the podcasts I've done, I've talked about stories. I've talked about how stories create your reality. I talked about belief systems. I talked about wording and how you explain it. The words you choose, you have to take a bunch of words to put them together, and that creates a story. That story that you continually tell yourself, whether it's internally or externally, is going to create your environment. It sets the tone in the mind to start to manifest, right? You start to shift your vibrational frequencies, and all of a sudden, that frequency now all of a sudden is going to match some sort of reality, okay? Coherence. You're going to have a harmonic resonance with two different frequencies, and when you have that, all of a sudden that reality can now exist. You're in alignment with that. So this is where words and stories play a massive role. This is the science, guys. This is just what I'm sharing here. And so the words that you're choosing and how you choose them, you're creating every step of the way in your life. So pay attention that when you're sharing a story, when you're explaining something in your life, it may be your business, your spouse, your significant other, your children, your financial relationships, the words that you choose and how you choose them is actually creating a reality. And I hope you can feel the weight of that, because you can drastically shift your life. I remember 15 years ago, I was listening to a speaker, and he told me, not me in general, he told the group, but I got to talk to him afterwards about this, but that he goes, shift your vocabulary and you shift your life. And that opened up the door for me to pay attention to words, because then I was like, wait a minute, what does he mean? And he went down this whole path of how different words have different meanings and different vibrations. And I was like, I need to understand that. I don't want to just be told that and take it as truth. I need to see it in the fabrics and in the way I analyze things and see how much truth is behind that. And what I started to realize is that that truth really is true. Abracadabra. We're doing it all the time. We are magic creators. When I've interviewed a internationally well-known magician twice, and we talked about her magic and what really is magic and how did the magic really work. Now, there's some things she couldn't share with me because she has taken an oath in the realm of magicians, but there are some things she shared and how it's all about creation and creating the impossible, right? And making the impossible. And it's so powerful because abracadabra. I create, so I speak. I speak, so I create. As I speak, so I create. And so it's that very powerful connotation that, if you can grasp anything on this episode today, is knowing that no matter what you say, whatever you say, you are creating at all times, right? So look at your life. Here's some things, guys, and I know this because whenever I learn something new, I take a moment and I really want to learn as much as I can underneath, right? I want to get the full 360 degrees, as much as I possibly can. Then I start applying it in life now. Now I'm like, all right, I learned here. Here's the basics. Here's what this works. Here's the big picture. All right, great. Let's go learn, right? And I start applying it in my life, and I start to see where can I learn from this, right? I don't know. I know a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of what's out in the universe. So for me, I'm a student of life and always will be. I'll never act like I 100% know something. Even when I'm working with clients in my chiropractic office, I always tell them this is kind of how things will go. Here's the pattern, what we may see, but I'm telling you this is the majority, but that doesn't mean it has to be that way, right? Because I always leave a door open for potentiality and possibilities, because I don't know everything, right? And so the key concept is that when you speak and therefore you create, you are creating the impossible. You're creating things that are beyond what ego can understand. And if you can truly grasp that, you can truly create the impossible here. Because impossible is just considered to be from some experts who say it can't be done. But then until someone does it, then it's like, hey, what did you say again? What were you expert of? Oh, yeah, you're a master of what? Because this is why I don't like calling myself an expert. I'll never call myself an expert in things. Sometimes I may use that term just to show to share with someone how I have depth of knowledge into something. But to me, I don't like to be called an expert in anything, because it's one of the things where those are the ones that most of the time are going to say no. Those are the ones that are going to put limits on you. Those are the ones that are going to say X, Y, and Z. And I've met many experts in my life who said that to me, and I did not like the response. And I said, well, if the universe is true, right? Abracadabra, as I speak, so I create. If I can create anything that I desire, as long as I put the work in and follow a construct and a system behind it, then why should I be limited? And all of a sudden I did it. And then I broke through the barrier. And then I was like, wow, I broke through that one, built some confidence, right? Then all of a sudden I'm like, someone's telling me, nope, can't do it. Okay, we'll see. And then all of a sudden over time, boom, did it again. I mean, just over the weekend, I was playing with a Rubik's Cube. I have not used a Rubik's Cube in a very long time. I used to memorize the moves. It was like 16 moves or something, move colors around, and it took a very short period of time. And you could just keep moving, and then you have it all done. I haven't played in a Rubik's Cube probably over 10 to 15 years. So I don't remember the moves. And I was struggling, trying to remember. I can get one side colored, and I may almost got the second one. And they're like, "Oh, you're not going to figure it out. You're this and that." And I was just like, "Dang, calm down. I haven't played with this in like 15 years." Like, I'm looking at the internet, trying to figure out some of the moves again. And I was just like, you know what? I'm going to buy myself a Rubik's Cube. I'm going to mess it up, and then I'm going to go put it back together in the way it needs to be. And I'll remember exactly how the movatures work. Because again, someone telling me no, that usually is my best motivation. But the thing is in life is that if I believe and I want to do something like that, I will, right? Abracadabra. I'm going to speak it, so I will create it. I've done other things in my life like that, where different stories of my life in different situations. We all have these, guys. I'm not no special individual. We all have done this. We've all gone against the grain and proved someone wrong in some way, shape, or form. And the more you do that, the more you get comfortable breaking these barriers, the more you start to say, you know what, I'm living life to my purpose. I'm living life to the beat of my own drum. I'm living life to what I want to create, and the heck with anyone's opinions. And that's usually, now I'm not saying it's not wrong or right to not listen to someone, but I truly believe if you feel passionate about someone, passionate about something, you want to create it, right? You can't just speak something it's going to create. You have to put energy behind it. And that's motion. That's emotions. You got to put energy in motion, right? You got to get things moving now. There's a layering process to this, right? So you speak, you just create. It's just like you create a visualization in your head of what it is, a vision. This is the heaviness of what I do in my work with coaching clients and working on vision and clarifying their vision in their life and all aspects of their life. So that way, every step of what they do is in true alignment to what they want to create for themselves. And it's always a tied to the main vision of or their soul's purpose or their DNA. And whatever you want to call it. And then it gets into the aspect of now, okay, how are we going to create that, right? Because you got to put the energy in motion. We got to tag emotions into this. I speak, so I create. How are you going to do that, right? And you make a plan on that, and you tie that into the process. And then from there, you start working on now, okay, how do I stay in alignment? What are the little things I have to do, right? Well, how do I break this down to a certain way to make it easy for me to obtain, right? If I want to make, be a multi-millionaire, then how do I do that? Right now, if I'm not there, my mind's like, that's a far leap to get there. But if I break it down and say, you know what, this is how I'm going to do it. Here's my step-by-step play. Here's my process of what I'm going to do. And I'm just going to do that. And I'm going to do the best that I can to make sure that it goes that way. And I'm going to put all my energy into it. I'm going to speak so I create, play the abracadabra, and I'm going to use universal laws and guidance systems to help me in that position. And I'll use neurological principles and quantum physics to help me in that process. And it's amazing. It will get there. It happens. It may not happen when I want. And I'm getting better. As I get older, I'm getting better with that. I'm learning to just accept that. I know that as long as I have the vision and I do the work, it's about enjoying the process instead of the destination. So many times you see it in business, and so many times you see it in different avenues. Like I know in chiropractic, there's ways how we look at things, and I won't mention it too much, but there's other things that, when it comes to just business, right? Oh, I'm a millionaire, or I made this much money this year. I made this much growth this year. Look at the car I drive, or the house I have, or this I have, right? And we get so caught up and hung in those things. And I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with those. I do like nice things to a certain degree, but it's one of the things where it's about what gives you value, right? What's important to you, what values you. And I remember interviewing someone last week, and we got into the concept of, the big house and the nice car and living within your means. And it's a money coach that I interviewed. And it was interesting because I shared with him, like, I used to have that somewhat of a mindset. And then I got older and I started to really come into my own. And I was like, you know what? I don't care about fancy cars. I don't care, about a Mercedes or a BMW. For me personally, I don't. I'm very simple. There's certain things I like, and that's it. And, I'm a pickup truck guy. That's it. I want to have a nice pickup truck. And I finally, in 2020, I made that happen. Although I could have got it 5 years ago, I had other criteria that I wanted to wait. I waited. It was delayed gratification. I didn't care if it took me 5 years to get the exact deal, the exact truck, the exact everything that I saw. And it just worked out. And I was like, you know what? It's checking every single box. Yeah, there's a couple things maybe not there, but they're not deal breakers. And I was like, this is it. This is my 15, 20-year car. I'm holding on to this puppy for as long as I can. And I want my kid to be driving that down the road. And so that's a vision, right? That's something I've created. And it took 5 years. And all of a sudden the opportunity came. I jumped on it immediately. There was no hesitation. And it's because, again, it's as I speak, as I create, right? I told my wife about that long time ago. I said, I want a pickup truck. This is what I'm looking for. This is what I want. I ended up not getting the actual truck I thought I was going to get brand wise. But the key thing is I got everything I wanted, right? And so there's also this divine timing that you guys to give with this. So when you're speaking and creating, sometimes it may happen like this. Sometimes it doesn't, right? And you have to understand there's a dance between that. And when it does happen quick, be excited about it. It's fun. It's cool how that works out. But most of the time, it's going to probably be a process. And there's reasons behind that. We're in a time-space continuum. We have to move through space and time to get to where we want to create. So when you do abracadabra, you speak and therefore you create. Know that you projected into the future a time of a reality of what it is. And some people say you're pulling into the future and bringing it in and feeling what you're going to have in the future. That's a whole nother conversation. That will be a whole nother book that I'm going to dive into in the next few years as I'm doing research on that right now. But it's one of the things where you're going ahead now and setting the tone of what it is you want to create. Now you as the individual have to move through that space-time continuum to get there. Okay. That's what it is about being physical in this human being, in this human experience. But know that be mindful of what the words you choose. Okay. Understand the definition of what the word you are using. Find the words you choose to describe things. Pay attention to them. If you're writing letters on something, pay attention. If you explain something about somebody, pay attention to the words. A lot of times you'll talk about your spouse in a negative manner rather than the positive. Focus on the positives, but in the sense, pay attention to the words you're choosing, right? Like one of them that I hear a lot, and I do this myself sometimes, I yell at myself, oh, you always, right? No one always does something. No one does something 100%. So knowing that terminology is one thing you can change. But abracadabra, speak as I speak, so I create. You, my friends, as you speak, you can create anything. You step into that creator of who you are, whether you're in business, life, whatever it is, sector it is, goals in finances, goals in relationships, goals in health, mental health, whatever it is. As you speak, so you create. And you tap back into the power of who you are, just like in the Bible, Genesis. God spoke of light, and there shall it came. He spoke of water, and it showed up. And, it's one of the things where he used his words to create. And the same thing for you. You choose your words, and you create. For you were born and created in the image, in the likeness of God itself. And if so when you look at that, if you like the word God, prime creator, prime director, all that is, I like that one. Whatever terminology you use, doesn't matter. You speak, you create. Abracadabra. Now have fun doing some abracadabraing in this next time. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. As always, this is wrapping up this wonderful episode here. I hope you enjoyed as much as I have. If it's your first time listening, please subscribe. Get access to all the podcasts we do. We release 2 a week, every Tuesday, Wednesday, roughly Tuesday, Wednesday. You'll hear podcasts from me, and then every Friday we have an interview. And right now we have some great guests that we've been lining up. We are launched up all the way until June right now, and we got some great guests coming on. I'm excited to have some good dialogues with them. I've been doing it every Friday, 4 to 5 hours every Friday, and we're having some great guests coming on. So I'm excited to share those with you as they come up. So stay tuned. Take a look this Friday. If not, check me out on social media, on Instagram and Facebook, Dr. Vic Manzo, and you can see I always release on Wednesdays in stories who it is that we're releasing. Get a little 30-second snippet, and then you can go ahead and set up the date so you can watch when the podcast gets released. So check that out. As always, everyone, appreciate y'all. I'll see y'all next week. Keep rocking and rolling.